It's a hot summer evening in Paris. For weeks, a record-breaking heat wave has been baking the city, leaving the streets empty and the Louvre quieter than ever. No one dares to go outside, but for one man, this was the perfect moment to strike. That night, he would pull off the heist of the century, stealing the most famous painting on Earth and vanishing into the city before anyone realized what had happened.
This is the story of how one man stole the Mona Lisa, how he almost got away with it, and how the truth behind the theft remained hidden for decades. As the sun went down that Sunday evening, the last few tourists trickled out of the Louvre, but just before closing, a man walked in, dressed head to toe in the museum's official white uniform. He blended in perfectly, found his way to a small storage closet, and quietly locked himself inside. There, he waited all night. The Louvre was closed the next day, Monday. Few guards, almost no staff. At exactly 7:15 the next morning, the man emerged from the closet into an almost empty museum. He walked quickly through the halls until he reached the Salon Carré, and there it was, the Mona Lisa. At the time, it didn't have its own room or bulletproof glass. It wasn't yet the world's most famous painting, but the man standing before it was about to change that forever. He lifted the portrait off its metal pegs, carried it to a nearby stairwell, and using a screwdriver, removed it from its protective frame. He wrapped the painting carefully in a white sheet and headed for the nearest exit. Then, a problem. The door was locked, and at that exact moment, a plumber appeared out of nowhere. The man froze, then calmly asked for help. The plumber assumed he was a Louvre employee and unlocked the door for him. And just like that, the thief walked out into the Paris streets, the Mona Lisa tucked under his arm. The entire heist had taken only a few minutes, but it would take more than 28 hours before anyone realized the painting was gone. That week, photographers had been moving artworks for official documentation. Blank spaces on the walls were normal, so when the Mona Lisa wasn't in its spot, no one thought much of it until the next morning. When the photographers came to collect it and found an empty frame, panic swept through the museum. The Mona Lisa was missing. Police swarmed the Louvre. Detectives searched every room, every passage, every exit, but all they found was the empty wooden frame and a single fingerprint. News of the theft spread instantly. Headlines screamed across Europe. The Mona Lisa, stolen. The French public was furious. The government promised action. Newspapers offered rewards of $250,000 for any information. Thousands came forward with tips. Everyone had seen something. Everyone had a theory. Some claimed to have spotted a man carrying a bulky package near the Louvre that morning. Others insisted the painting had already been smuggled out onto a train heading for Belgium or a ship bound for America. Soon, the case took a strange turn. A secretary came forward claiming he knew who did it. He said the famous artist Pablo Picasso had bought stolen statues from the Louvre through an acquaintance. It seemed impossible, but when police checked the serial numbers, the statues really were from the museum. Picasso was arrested and interrogated. For a moment, the world believed that the greatest artist alive might also be the world's boldest thief, but there was no proof linking him to the Mona Lisa. The investigation spiraled. Even the American banker J.P. Morgan was accused of commissioning the theft for his private collection. Police searched ships arriving in New York. Nothing. For 2 years, every lead led nowhere. The Mona Lisa had vanished without a trace. But the truth was much simpler. The painting had never left Paris. It was sitting in a small apartment, just 2 miles from the Louvre.
The man who stole it was named Vincenzo Perugia, a 29-year-old Italian handyman who once worked at the museum. He knew its halls better than most. He knew it closed on Mondays. He knew the guards, and he knew the Mona Lisa's protective case because he had built it himself.
After the theft, Perugia hid the painting in a trunk with a false bottom, a secret compartment he had built by hand. The police even visited his apartment twice, but they never found anything. The fingerprint left behind, it didn't match because only his right hand had ever been printed by authorities. The one on the frame was from his left. He had pulled off the simplest heist imaginable, and somehow it had worked. But over time, Perugia grew restless. He believed the Mona Lisa belonged in Italy, and after 2 years of hiding it, he decided to return it himself. He wrote an anonymous letter to an art dealer in Florence, claiming to be in possession of the Mona Lisa and wanting to bring it home. He signed it Leonardo. When the dealer agreed to meet, Perugia boarded a train to Florence. At the hotel, he opened his trunk, revealing the wrapped painting, and there it was, the real Mona Lisa. The dealers played along, assuring him he'd be rewarded for returning it. But as soon as they left with the painting for verification, they called the police. Perugia was arrested within the hour. He served just 7 months in prison. The painting was returned to the Louvre, and Parisians lined the streets to welcome it home. It was no longer just a painting, it was a legend. But the story didn't end there. Years later, in 1932, a journalist named Carl Decker published a report claiming there had been a mastermind behind the entire theft, an Argentine con artist named Eduardo di Valfierno. According to Decker, Valfierno had devised a brilliant scam. He had commissioned 6 perfect forgeries of the Mona Lisa, planning to sell each one to wealthy collectors in America. But for the forgeries to be believable, the real one had to disappear. So he allegedly hired Perugia to do the job. When the theft made international headlines, the forgeries were sold for millions, and the men behind the scheme vanished, leaving Perugia to take the fall. To this day, no one knows whether Decker's story was true. No copies were ever found. No records ever confirmed the con. But the idea that one of the world's most famous paintings was stolen not for pride or patriotism, but for the illusion of authenticity, makes the Mona Lisa's smile just a little more mysterious.